What is up, guys? Agrus here, and today we're comparing the KRM-262 and the Argus to figure out which is the best one-hit kill shotgun in Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Now let's get started, and the first issue we're going to talk about is not one involving performance, it is one involving level. The KRM-262, it's worth mentioning, is unlocked immediately as soon as you prestige, as soon as you buy the game, so you can start using this shotgun right out of the gate, and again, as soon as you prestige. The Argus is unlocked a lot later in the level 50s, so if you are a player who is trying to get to Master Prestige and you're constantly prestiging, you will have to spend a permanent unlock token on the Argus if you want to use it all the time. Now that factor is not going to come into the equation when we're discussing which gun is best, but it is definitely worth mentioning. Now let's introduce some numbers and see which one of these guns triumphs in the damage department. Now the KRM is going to be doing 13 maximum damage out to 5 meters, then sloping down to 11 damage at 8 meters, and then finally sloping down to 7 minimum damage at 15 meters. From that point on, you're going to be getting no more hit markers. Okay, so what about the Argus? Well, the Argus is going to be doing 15 maximum damage out to 7 meters and then sloping down to 10 minimum damage at 17 meters, again, to which beyond that point, you will be getting no more hit markers. Now you may be thinking, wait a minute, that really didn't help at all, and frankly, it doesn't really help at all. You see, the damage is applied very differently in Call of Duty Black Ops 3 than in pretty much any other Call of Duty when we're talking about shotguns. Beforehand, in previous Call of Duties, what happened was each pellet, your shotgun shoots a number of pellets. For both of these guns, the Argus and the KRM, they're shooting 8 pellets. Each one of these pellets does a certain amount of damage when you hit an enemy, and so if each one is doing 20 damage, if you hit them with 5 pellets, that's 100 damage, they die. But in Black Ops 3, what happens is as long as you get one single hit marker, so you hit someone with a single pellet, you're going to be doing a base damage, a certain base damage, and then you get a multiplier, you get bonus damage applied for how many pellets actually hit that player. And that is supposed to eliminate the times when you got, 7 hit markers in a row because you were insanely unlucky and you kept hitting that guy with one pellet over and over and over again. So what that means is throwing a bunch of numbers at you guys probably isn't going to help. What is going to help is this. This is the one-shot kill range of the KRM, and then this is the one-shot kill range with the Argus. You can see clearly that the Argus's range is substantially longer than the KRM's. And to basically add insult to injury, the long barrel attachment will actually increase the one-shot kill range for the Argus even further. And the reason being is because the long barrel only increases the absolute minimum damage of shotguns by 13%. Now, why does that matter and why does that not also help the KRM? Well, it's simply because the KRM is going to be getting hit markers at its absolute minimum damage. So you're basically extending the range where it can get hit markers by 13%. Not very useful. Again, you're going to want to hit those one-shot kills. But with the Argus, the range that you saw, that was its maximum one-hit kill potential. If you step 1 inch further backwards, you're going to get no hit markers whatsoever. That's because the Argus's one-shot kill range is its maximum range of 17 meters. Again, any further than that and you won't get any hit markers whatsoever. So again, the long barrel is going to extend that minimum range, but again, the minimum range is also its one-hit kill range. Alright, now a lot of you may be kind of thinking, well, case closed. I mean, the Argus just outranges the KRM by a mile, and it's still a one-shot kill. I mean, what could the KRM possibly have over the Argus in terms of performance? Well, there is something. Now, when we're talking about shotguns in Black Ops 3, an interesting fact is that shotguns get a substantial accuracy bonus when aiming down sights. Right here you're seeing the Argus's accuracy bonus. As you can see, when you hip fire, it's kind of like a normal shotgun, but when you aim down sights, it's essentially like it's shooting one bullet. All of the different pellets align into one tiny area. But now when we switch over to the KRM, you can see that although it does get a substantial accuracy bonus when aiming down sights, the group isn't quite as tight, it's still a little bit loose. You may also have noticed that the hipfire spread of the KRM is actually wider than the Argus's hipfire spread with no attachments involved. These things combine to actually make the KRM a little bit better in extremely close ranges. When you're fighting enemies and you're in like room-to-room combat, you are very close to enemies, you actually kind of want a wider hip spread, or you want a wider ADS spread, because there's plenty of times when you're extremely close distances and you try to aim down sights and you shoot someone and you miss. This actually happens all the time with the Argus. You shoot, you swear you hit someone, but it goes in between their legs or through their armpit or whatever, and you just miss that guy by just a millimeter. And again, when you're in extremely close ranges, you need to be popping off your shot as quickly as possible. You really don't have time to be aiming down sights and lining up your target perfectly. And that's when you kind of want a little bit of a degree of freedom. You want a little bit of a wider spread. So if you have the KRM and you shoot just beside someone's arm, enough pellets are still going to hit their arm that they're still going to die. There's also the factor of the Argus that I think is worth bringing up. That's basically everything is told by this clip here. You can see that I aim down sights at this guy, I shoot my Argus, I get a hit marker, and wait, I got a hit marker? Exactly. There should be no scenario where you ever get a hit marker with the Argus. I actually thought, I was like, maybe you get a little bit of a decrease in damage when you're hitting below the waist or something. Well, I took the Argus into private match, I was shooting everyone in the feet, and they all died in one shot. So this, I don't know whether this is a problem with Black Ops 3 or the Argus, because again, all of your pellets are going to one tiny spot. If you get a hit marker, that means that every other pellet went to that area, and yet this guy is still alive. So again, I don't know whether that's Black Ops 3 or the Argus, but there is quite a lot of times, especially if you don't have the greatest connection, where the Argus just totally lets you down. And that isn't, again, that's not necessarily the Argus's fault. It's probably more connection-wise, but it is something to be aware of. The KRM just is a little bit more user-friendly. You won't be throwing your controller at your screen with the KRM, because most of the time, when you shoot an enemy and you think you should kill him, you actually do with the KRM, whereas the Argus, again, there can be some iffy stuff going on there. Now, with all that being said, which gun do I think is best, the KRM or the Argus? Well, in my opinion, I would have to give it to the Argus. And the reason being is because even though it does have those weird connection issues that I just mentioned, most of the time you are just sniping people with this weapon. It is a fantastically long-range shotgun. And if that wasn't enough, the aim down sights time of the Argus is 0.216 and the aim down sights time of the KRM is 0.25. So not only is the Argus just so much better at range, but it also aims down sights a little bit further. And if that wasn't enough, it also reloads the entire magazine in one go. It doesn't reload one shell at a time like the KRM, so it reloads quicker. And if that wasn't enough, it also has a slightly higher rate of fire at 63, where the KRM's is 60. And the reason I left all these stats till the end is just because of, what I just described. The Argus beats the KRM pretty much everywhere. However, with all that being said, that just means I think the Argus is better. That doesn't mean that I think the KRM is a bad gun, but something should be done to kind of address these gaps in performance. And I think that the KRM does need some sort of buff. However, I will preface that with, I don't want it to just be buffed in range. That's what way too many people I see call for. They say, well, the Argus has insane range, buff the KRM's range. But if you do that, the KRM is just going to be the Argus 2.0. There's really no point in that. There isn't really any diversification. I think that Treyarch should really emphasize the fact that the KRM is better at close range. I think that they should make the hipfire spread even wider, like widen it even more, and then add more pellets. Take the pellet count from 8 and increase it to 10 or 11. Now, you may need to actually decrease the range of the KRM to compensate for this increase in damage potential by adding more pellets, but again, what it's going to do is it's going to make it so that the KRM is basically always going to be getting those one-shot kills when it's in close range. And in those extreme close range scenarios, that wider hipfire spread and more pellet count is going to make it so that you're going to be able to panic shoot people essentially easier and more efficiently. Whereas the Argus can remain a high-risk, high-reward shotgun that emphasizes accuracy. So you have the KRM with brute force and the Argus with finesse. Now, if you agree with that, I hope you take the time to rate and share this video. It really helps me out, and it increases the likelihood that Treyarch actually sees this video. Now, if you want to see more Black Ops 3 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can follow as well. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.